Hi, it's me again with Corel Draw Tips and Tricks, and this is part 3, possibly the last one. Well, I'm going to make one more after I make this and show that it works. So if you haven't watched part 1 and 2, you might want to watch it. We've taken this and we've make the door open that's going to hold the gift card, and it'll stop right there at that stopping point. There'll be plenty of places to get the card out. So now we're going to make a lock. The gentleman that I'm copying, and I'm not going to copy that, is doing that right there. I'm going to do it internally where it really will never be seen. And these are just some ideas, and I'm going to use it at this 45-degree angle. And I'm just going to create a rectangle. And then inside that rectangle, I'm going to do a couple of things. We need, on this side, we need a circle that's going to lock it. So I'm going to take an ellipse and I'm going to make it 0.125, just 1/8 of an inch circle or ellipse. And I'm going to put it, if we go to the midpoint of that and then start moving, go to the midpoint, start moving, well, start moving. Normally the control button will do that. Tell you what, we'll just nudge it over. Whoop, too far. Let's set our nudge factor on, like, we have to unselect everything. Let's set our nudge factor on 1. And we're going to nudge that ellipse over. Now it doesn't look like it's in the center, so we're going to make sure it's in the midpoint of that line. And I'm going to nudge it over. Maybe even one more. And now we need to make a device. And for some reason, that's not a hairline. Maybe I made 2 copies. Huh. It's weird that it doesn't look like a hairline. Tell you what, I'm just going to start over. Delete that. Let me double click on my pen tool or hit F12. Sometimes mine doesn't work. Go to graphic. Set it on hairline. Let's draw that ellipse. There we go. That's a hairline. We'll make it that 0.125. 0.125. And you know, for some reason, that doesn't look like a hairline. For some reason, when I enlarge it, it gets a little larger. Let me scale it with object, and it is. So it says it's a hairline, so we're going to go with it. Go right to the midpoint, and then we're going to nudge it over 3 times. Now I'm going to take a 2-point line, and I'm going to go from the, well, I really need to go from about right there. And I'm just going to take an angle and take it over. I want that angle to be the same on both sides. So I'm going to hit the plus key on the keyboard, and I'm going to mirror it. And then I'm going to move this, whoop, using the 4-point cross, get it till it's about on that edge. And then I'm going to take and delete that part and delete that. So what that makes, if we look, well, you'll figure it out in just a second. Now we need to make the other side. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take our whole part and nudge it out of the way so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. So I need to delete this line so our cavity can go in there. Now I'm going to nudge this back, and I'm going to delete this line and this line. And then that's why when we nudge it out of the way, that's what it looks like. It's just that part. We'll take those other parts out later. Matter of fact, I'm just going to do it right now. I'm just going to delete this. And what we can do, so now this is all one piece. I'm going to take the Smart Fill tool, and I'm going to fill that cavity in. Actually, I need to take away these lines. You know what, I should have kept that line across there. So we'll just take our 2-point line and go from that node to that node, because we want this locking mechanism in the part. So we're going to take our two, let's do it in blue, maybe it'll show up better. There we go. So there's our female locking part, and when we nudge it out of the way, you can see what we're doing. And now we're going to take and smart fill this, and this is going to be our male. Tell you what, let me put everything back to where it was, and so I can nudge it out of the way quite a bit further. So now we're top dead center. Let's, and I'm just playing and guessing with this. I will cut one of these out so we'll know that it does work. So I'm gonna set my nudge factor on 10, and I'm gonna nudge our part out of the way. I'm gonna take the smart fill tool, take that out of the way, and see it's got our everything we needed. And I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna left click, right click, take the other one, left click, right click, making sure it's a hairline. Now let's nudge it down, and you can kind of see what's gonna happen. That part is gonna slip inside there and lock. Now we can do a couple other things on this piece that I prefer doing. We're gonna make this a little round, so we're gonna open up windows, dockers, corners, and we're gonna take that node right there, and we're just gonna round it off a little bit. That way it'll fit in that slot good and won't have any trouble of leaking. We could actually maybe even set this on like 0.01, just a minute little rounding of the corners. And if you look, it just barely rounded the corners. Now that should really lock in place, but it might not open back up. So we need to put a little bit of relief to it. So what I'm going to do now, I need to figure out how to kind of give this a little bit of a spring effect. And, you know, I actually rounded that corner off too, and that would actually be helpful. I'd round it off on the other side, so let's round it off on this side. That's going to help it kind of slip in there, but I think it's still going to bite too much and maybe not come out of there because that's a pretty big hole. So let me think about this for a second. We need to somehow make this expandable just a little bit, and several ways we could do that. Let's take another rectangle tool. It's pretty close to in the center, and let's take this shape and let's nudge it out of the way for a second. Let's actually nudge it maybe up so we can get to it. No matter where it is, it's going to be in the way. And we're going to take this shape and we're going to left click, right click, and we are going to contour now. We're going to go up to effects and contour to the inside 0.02, let's say. And then we kind of look at it that's going to be too much. So let's go 0.01. And what we're looking at, if this red line, if we bring in an indexing line, is going to be just barely past that part. So that's pretty good. I'm hoping this is going to work. So now what we're going to do is break the contour apart. We're going to grab that center one and let's nudge it back over to our male part. And you can see what we've done now. So now I can take this rectangle away, and I'm actually going to join these nodes. I'm just going to bring that node down to there, bring that node up to there, And I got to keep thinking about, so we've already got that part. We're just working on the female part. I really think we're good. Let's take away our virtual segment delete key and delete that. And delete that. So we made our hole a little bit bigger. Now, as always, take your Smart Fill tool and fill that in so we get a new object. And then left click. I'm going to make the right click in black. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of this. And because we're nudging, we can nudge this right back. And then we can put that in there and let's kind of look at it in real time. I think that's going to work perfectly. Let's set our nudge factor on something pretty low. Let's set it on like 0.1. And let's take our piece and let's zoom in here and just kind of see what it looks like. Let's make our nudge factor less than that. 0.01. See, it's still going to catch right there. It's probably too much. So what I'm going to do now is take that corner. I'm going to open up the corner radius again, Windows Dockers corners. And this is something you could play with. It's just one piece. You're not going to mess it up too much. See, I'm just rounding off that corner a little bit. I think that's going to work. Now let's take our piece and nudge it. See, it's still going to hit that circle pretty good. Maybe let's round it off a little bit. Let's back up here. I know this might be a little bit confusing. And there's several ways to do this. Let's make our 0.03 on our corner. Round it off. I'm trying just to get that piece to slip in there. Now we can nudge it. See, we got just a little bit of a catch. But I think if we do one more thing, it should lock in there quite. And see what's going to happen. I'm not really worried too much about the circle because this is going to hold it tight back and forth. You know, when you press it in, and also it's going to give you some better, easier to put together. So we might do this. Let's nudge. And I just noticed that the female part, yeah, it's rounded off. It'll fit in there. I was just thinking it wasn't going to fit. And there's several things we can do there now. We could always do this, and I've done this before. Just take a 2-point line. Kind of go like that. And maybe even put it right on it. And when this cuts, yes, this is what's going to happen. So we're going to hit the plus key on the keyboard and mirror it. Then holding down the control button will be better to get right there. Holding down the control button to get it perfect. So what's going to happen, this is going to act like kind of like a spring when this, because this piece of wood is going to be cut. We'll actually take a little piece of wood out of it. We can go right there to, like right there, and then right there to right there. So that's going to be cut out. And then this piece of wood will be able to move that way. Matter of fact, I like that. So we're going to take the Smart Fill tool and create that shape. And then we're going to get rid of this line. And I will do another video and let you know that this worked. So I'm going to left click, right click. I'm going to make a duplicate of it. I'm going to mirror it, holding down the control button and have it snap right there. Well, I'm not very happy why that line is Not there. Let's take that node and put it right there. For some reason, I have 2 copies. There we go. And I'm gonna smart field the whole thing. Let's look at the other side. Huh, the other side's good. I just messed that up somehow. See, that way, this piece is gonna have a little bit of a spring. I think this is gonna work. So, we're gonna do one more smart field tool to kind of make sure it's all one piece. And let's move that out of the way. Let me just hold down the control button. Tell you what, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back. Using the undo keys to the move. Wow, I didn't think I moved it that many times. See, when you're moving it so minutely, wow, I moved it a lot. Wow, that's a lot of movement. So I should have, when you first realize that, you ought to stop. And there we go. Okay, we're good. So now, well, you know what? I want it back to where it was. Now, you know, what I'd done, I'd moved it out of the way. Let's make sure we're still good with our object. Let's go forward a little bit and get rid of that box. Now I'm going to grab, you know what? I'm going to grab the main item, put my nudge factor on like 5, grab our main item and move it out of the way, and then take the smart fill tool and fill that in, and then nudge it out of the way twice. And let's look at it closely when we left click to make sure. I'm going to go ahead and right click in red. And that should work, because this is going to completely cut out and fall out. So this piece will have some spring to it. I think that's going to work. So I will cut this out in the next couple of days and make sure it works and then let you know. So if you didn't understand, you've got a top piece, a bottom piece, and a middle piece. This one actually looks like it's thicker than that. It actually looks like he's using 1/4-inch wood. See, here's kind of his spring joint, but I don't want to copy that. It's a pretty clever idea. Mine, you won't even be able to see that. Hopefully it'll be nice. Anyway, I hope that helped a little bit. Thank you for watching.